Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Tab, and I recently moved to the UK as a medical registrar. Today, I want to take you through my first 4 weeks here, a mix of excitement, confusion, and plenty of funny moments. If you're planning to make a similar move, are curious about life in the NHS, or just enjoy hearing stories about people fumbling through life in a new country, you're in for a treat. Grab your favorite snack, cozy up, and let's dive right in. The big move, from the desert to the downpour. Let's start with my arrival. I landed in the UK at the end of November, and wow, talk about a weather shock. Back in the Middle East, we have sunshine and warm breezes. In the UK, I was greeted with a combination of cold, rain, and wind so strong, it felt like the weather was trying to blow me back onto the plane. I had this cute little travel outfit planned, a nice scarf, some comfortable shoes, and within 5 minutes, it was soaked. Lesson 1. Always carry an umbrella. And Lesson 2. British weather doesn't care about your plans. The accommodation saga. Now, finding accommodation before you move is like solving a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. It took me a solid month of back and forth emails, calls, and minor meltdowns to secure a hospital accommodation. When I finally got it, it felt like I'd conquered Everest. It's a 1-bedroom with an attached bathroom and a shared kitchen and living room. Basic but functional. But here's the real win. It's right across the hospital. No buses, no trains, no risk of getting lost. Just a short walk in the rain. Sharing a kitchen has been an adventure too. Pro tip, if you think doctors are tidy, you're in for a surprise. The BRP blunders. My first official task was picking up my BRP, essentially my golden ticket to staying in the UK. I took a train to the next town, picked it up from the post office, and thought, wow, that was easy. Famous last words. On my way back, I boarded the wrong train. It was going the opposite direction, and by the time I realized, it was too late. I ended up exploring a random countryside station waiting for the right train. It was a solid hour and a half of travel chaos. At one point, I just stood there and thought, well, at least it's scenic. That's British optimism for you. Occupational health. Next up was my occupational health checkup. Honestly, it wasn't bad. The nurse was super nice, took my blood samples for a virology screen, and gave me a free MMR vaccine. I felt like I was back in school with a lollipop reward, minus the lollipop. She also scheduled a follow-up for the second dose and a TB test. It was quick, efficient, and surprisingly painless, except for the needle, of course. Banking. A pleasant surprise. Now, opening a bank account was something I was dreading. Everyone warned me about the nightmare of getting an address proof. Thankfully, the hospital IMG support team came through and provided a letter. The local bank was so helpful. Not only did they open my account within 90 minutes, but they also handed me a credit card like it was no big deal. I'd mentally prepared myself to open a Monzo or Revolut account. But hey, I'll take the surprise upgrade. If only getting rich was as easy as getting that card. ID check and the waiting game. Once my bank account was finally sorted, a minor miracle in itself, I moved on to the next step, the ID check appointment. This required 3 key documents: my passport, BRP, and the bank letter I'd worked so hard to secure. The process itself was surprisingly efficient. I had imagined a long, drawn-out ordeal with endless forms to fill out and grumpy staff behind counters. But to my relief, it took only about 30 minutes. Everything was done with a smile, and I walked out thinking, wow, that was easy. For a moment, I felt like I was winning at life. But then came the dreaded waiting. The HR team informed me that my occupational health reports were still pending and would take about 4 to 5 days. I naively thought, that's not too bad. I'll use the time to settle in, maybe explore the city a bit. What I hadn't accounted for was the British weather. Let me paint you a picture. Relentless rain, a sky so gray it felt like the sun had gone on holiday, and winds that could make you question your decision to carry an umbrella at all. Exploring wasn't an option. and staying indoors felt like being stuck in a time loop. 4 days turned into 5, then 6, and before I knew it, a whole week had gone by. Just when I thought I was nearing the finish line, occupational health threw in a plot twist. They called to inform me that I needed a chest x-ray to complete the process. It was like one of those cliffhangers in a drama series, unexpected and slightly frustrating. So, off I went for the x-ray, hoping this would finally put an end to the seemingly endless cycle of appointments. The wait for the x-ray report added another layer of monotony to my days. With little to do and no friends yet, I resorted to binge-watching TV shows and scrolling endlessly on my phone. I even contemplated starting a YouTube channel, which, spoiler alert, I eventually did. Looking back, those days of waiting were some of the most challenging. The combination of isolation, bad weather, and the uncertainty of not knowing when I'd finally start work was tough. If you're in a similar situation, my advice is simple. Find ways to keep your mind occupied. Read that book you've been meaning to start, pick up a new hobby, or simply call up a friend for a chat. And if all else fails, embrace the art of doing nothing. It's oddly therapeutic in small doses. First day at work. After what felt like an eternity of waiting, my start date finally arrived. The night before, I hardly slept. My mind was racing with a mix of excitement and sheer panic. Would I fit in? Would I remember everything from the training? And most importantly, would I survive my first shift without causing chaos? Day 1 was, in a word, hectic. The HR department welcomed me warmly, but it was clear they were on a tight schedule. I was whisked from one office to another, HR, IT, and the rota coordinator, all within the first hour. Everyone was polite and efficient, but there was an undeniable sense of urgency. I barely had time to catch my breath before I was handed over to the training team. The training. Let me tell you, it was intense. I had to learn how to access patient labs, order new ones, manage prescription charts, and navigate emergency department protocols. The system itself was incredibly organized, which was both impressive and overwhelming. On one hand, I marveled at how seamlessly everything was integrated. On the other hand, I kept thinking, how am I supposed to remember all this? It was like being dropped into the deep end of a swimming pool, except instead of water, it was a sea of tabs, passwords, and protocols. It took me a full day and a half to get through the essential training modules. By the end of it, my brain felt like it had run a marathon. Just when I thought I was done, another staff member popped in to say, "Oh, don't forget to complete the mandatory online learning by next week." I smiled and nodded, but inside, I was screaming. Finally, I was introduced to my department. Walking in, I felt like the new kid at school, nervous and eager to make a good impression. Reflection. Reflecting on those first 2 weeks, I realized just how much I've grown, not just as a professional, but as a person. Moving to a new country and starting a demanding job is no small feat. There were moments when I felt completely overwhelmed and questioned whether I'd made the right decision. But every small win, whether it was setting up a bank account or surviving the training, gave me a sense of accomplishment. The experience taught me the importance of patience. Things don't always go as planned, and that's okay. These moments may feel frustrating in the moment, but they make for great stories later on. If you're planning a move like this, my advice is to take things one step at a time. Celebrate the small victories, stay connected with loved ones, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Until next time, take care and keep smiling.